Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, April 23rd. I'm Sonia Shrivastava. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, the trial of a Prince George's County police officer accused of hitting a disorderly teen who was in handcuffs wraps up this morning after only 2 days. Officer Jerry Thomas was charged with 2 counts of misconduct in office in connection with the November 2012 incident. Our Rochelle Metzger is at the courthouse in Upper Marlboro with the latest.
Prince George's police officer Jerry Thomas is in court on misconduct charges for punching and shoving a teenage suspect who was handcuffed in a holding cell. A judge was set to determine whether or not he used excessive force, but one day after the bench trial began, there was a sudden change of events.
Mr. Thomas indicated that he was interested in entering an Alford plea, which essentially says that he believed that the state was able to prove its case, but that he didn't want to admit his guilt, which was consistent with what had already happened. As the trial was going on, because he didn't want to admit his guilt, but he acknowledged that the state had enough evidence to find him guilty.
Thomas was charged with 2 counts of misconduct in office in connection with a November 2012 incident stemming from the arrest of a 15-year-old who was in custody for alleged destruction of property. The teen was handcuffed in a holding cell in the District 3 juvenile processing area, screaming and making other noises. What happened next was captured on video and played in court. It shows Thomas entering the cell with another officer and striking the juvenile, who was in cuffs, twice, and then shoving him down on the bench.
No matter how many times you review this video, the word unacceptable, and it's a crime. And that's the reason that we indicted Mr. Thomas, and that's the reason that he's now been held accountable.
It's disturbing to me. It angers me. And there's no place for it. It's inexcusable, and there's no place for it on this police department.
Thomas, who originally pleaded not guilty, claims he was defending himself from being spit on. His attorney says today's agreement is not admitting guilt in any way, shape, or form. What punishment Thomas will face is uncertain, as is his status with the police department.
I will take appropriate action immediately. The trust in the community is the most important thing to us, and I will not allow that to be violated.
We will definitely be requesting that jail time be a part of the sentence.
Termination absolutely is on the table.
Now, Thomas did not want to go on camera, but I did speak with his attorney, who told me, given certain circumstances, it ultimately became apparent that it would be advantageous to enter this particular plea. Sentencing is scheduled for June 22nd. Now, Thomas has been suspended with pay from the department. A hearing will ultimately determine his future on the force. In Upper Marlboro, I'm Rochelle Metzger, CTV News.
Now, Thomas was not charged with assault in this case because the statute of limitations expired before it was filed with the state's attorney's office. Now, asked about it today, Chief Magad told reporters it was not intentional. He says internal affairs lost track of the case, but adds that protocols have been put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. Meantime, protesters hit the streets for the 5th day in Baltimore to protest the death of Freddie Grey. As Byron Scott tells us, they are calling for an independent community investigation.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired of having their rights trampled over.
They are angry and they want justice to be served for the death of 25-year-old Freddie Grey.
But what we do know for certain is that had Brother Gray not come in contact with the Baltimore City Police Department, he'd still be alive and well today. Am I right about it?
Perhaps even more telling, they deeply distrust the system that's investigating his homicide.
Based upon what's happened in the past, we have no faith on those folk to do the right thing as so far as this case is concerned.
Members of People's Power Assembly announced they are conducting an independent community investigation.
I'm going to knock on every door in the neighborhood.
Former Philadelphia police officer and civil rights investigator Terrence Jones will lead the probe.
I'm going to listen to everyone who wants to say something. If they've seen something, I'll listen to anyone that has seen something and don't want to talk to the police. I would like to interview the police officers. I would probably talk with the commissioner, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to not speak with me.
Gray was arrested on April 12th. At some point while in police custody, he suffered a medical emergency and died a week later of a spinal cord injury. Police have yet to say why Gray was arrested or how his spine was injured.
Somebody did.
These are the 6 police officers who have been suspended with pay. All but one have spoken with investigators.
We have no confidence in internal affairs right now. Internal affairs is a department within the police department. That is a conflict of interest for them to be policing themselves.
Jones says his investigation should last about a month. He will turn over his findings to community leaders and possibly the Department of Justice. Organizers plan to gather here on this Saturday for another rally and march. They want to take the demonstration downtown, but they're also calling for people to come here from all across the nation. They want to gather here on May 2nd for another large rally and march to downtown. The story indeed far from over. In Baltimore, Byron Scott, CTV News.
Now, police officials say they hope to release the results of their findings by May 1st. Now, Metro's interim general manager is taking action before a final investigation into the cause of January's fatal smoke incident at LaFont Plaza Station is completed. Rob Traub has announced that the transit system will implement 4 additional safety measures, and those include having a dedicated maintenance crew to regularly clear debris and objects from the tracks. Metro is also committed to reviewing the protocols of the Rail Operations Control Center's critical alert system by this summer and providing a thorough audit of the tunnel ventilation system. The National Safety Transportation Board is expected to complete a final investigation report into the incident by June. Well, County Executive Rashawn Baker is holding a series of conversations on his proposed budget for the county. The most recent meeting was last night. He tells CTV News that he is working with Chief Executive Officer Dr. Kevin Maxwell to ensure proper allocations of the funds to enhance Prince George's.
What I asked Dr. Maxwell to do is to tell me where every dollar is going to go of this extra money. And if you saw from the strategic plan, it goes into teacher retention, which we are the greatest training ground for the rest of the region. So this will allow us to keep those. Parent engagement. Many of those people voice the fact that parents aren't engaged in the school system. Well, we have to actively engage in that. And so there are dollars that go to that. All day, pre-K, something that we know will get our kids off to the right start. But every dollar of this $133 million is accounted for, and then we're going to hold the school system accountable and hold me accountable as the county executive for moving us forward.
Now, if you would like to join the conversation, the next meeting takes place at Nicholas Orme Middle School on April the 29th at 6 p.m. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Sonia Shrivastava.